immediately. Gandia, Era JSO, Venom. Hello everyone, Sukatur, Flocky. How is everyone doing? I hope you're doing fine. As you see, we have a juicy Q&A today. Hello Spicoli, I hope you have your hall pass today. That's the only way you can join today. So love to see already so many people interested in already hanging out in here. I hope you can hear me fine. So, as you can see, we're just waiting for Tommy, and then we will get this going. I hope Mad Hatter is also ready. Leaving me on stage alone just to do a monologue, apparently. Oh, there he is. There you go. Oh, there's Tommy. Perfect. Come up on stage. There you go.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Doing good. Another busy day, but good day.
Is this the end of the day with us talking to us, or you're still busy afterwards?
I am trying not to work that late tonight. Sometimes I just work from morning till night, which is a little excessive. I'm gonna try to wrap up. I have one more meeting after this, and then I'm gonna try to just do some self-care stuff. But
that's
yeah.
No, that's good to hear. So I hope Mad Hatter is not gonna be too harsh with you, so you're not gonna be too exhausted for the meeting.
All good.
I can't make any promises.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually just a little pre-talk as we're waiting for a couple more people to trickle in. Already got some people waiting, and always awesome to see you guys in the audience. As you know, the community questions channel right above the stage is where you can ask the questions that Mad Hatter is gonna relay to Tommy. And yeah, also as you can see, we have a $100 giveaway, which will be done at some point during the Q&A, and Mad Hatter is gonna announce it. And all you've got to do, of course, is join the Energi Discord. Of course, also be active in the community questions channel. And yeah, exactly. Have you already shared the Discord now? Let me share the Discord link real quick, and then let's get it started. There you go, guys. Here we have the Discord link. So just join the server, take a look around, take a look at the white paper. And yeah, I would say let's get started, guys, right?
Ready when you guys are.
Perfect. Hi, guys. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to The Pillars. We are a community-led space aimed at supporting protocols and educating investors for intelligent, meaningful conversation. Here we ask the tough questions you all want answered. As you already heard, I had a little giggle there because, as you know, that's my usual intro. Today, it's not that fitting, I would say. Today, we're not talking to just a protocol. Today, we are talking about a whole blockchain. It's Energi blockchain. Today here with us is TommyWorldPower. Thank you, Tommy, so much for coming today and speaking to us about your business and what you've got going on and everything that comes with it. But to give me a quick, give you guys a quick introduction. Energy, they themselves say they are the safest blockchain in the world, where decentralization meets bank-grade security. What they're focusing on is, on the one hand, speed, and on the other hand, security. They have a very interesting system how they are looking to provide a secure place for investors and stakeholders in the blockchain and energy. And yeah, I think I don't want to get into it too much because there's a lot that we're gonna have to cover. So again, thank you all for coming. Community questions for questions, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, David. Tommy, great to have you in.
Yeah, great to be here, guys. Excited to share with you guys a bit about the innovations that we've done. I'm really proud of what our team Energy has done. I think we've gone more in the direction of security than any other blockchain, and it seems to be that is the pressing issue of the day. I don't know if you guys are active on Twitter, but I'm getting these Twitter spam messages like 5 times a day right now of all these giveaways. It's just out of control.
Mm-hmm.
You guys getting that too?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And security is obviously, the number one, if not the very top of the list of concerns for people. And certainly anybody that's doing something that is security conscious is definitely doing good by the space. So I'm looking forward to getting into the meat of it. Just for those that aren't in your Discord, don't know your history, your story, would you mind just talking us through a tiny bit of where your background lies with crypto, how you got into the space and what it is that really propelled you to decide you were going to create a blockchain?
For sure. Well, I guess I'll start with my alias. TommyWorldPower stems from 2011 when I decided that I'd be in alignment with the most powerful things in the world. And I did that from a place of goodness that I want to see the world be a better place. I figure you have to be in line with that to do that. So found blockchain, found Bitcoin in 2012, and saw an article that said it went up 5,000% in a year. I was like, it's too good to be true. And then it popped up on my radar a few more times, and finally I tuned into it. Watched the whole 2013 had a huge bull market. There was a surge at the beginning of the year where Bitcoin went up from pretty much $10 to $200 and crashed down to around 100. And I was trying to buy in at 50, but it never really went down to 50. And then 6 months later, it surged up to $1,000. So Bitcoin went from $10 to $1,000 in 2013, and I had missed my whole entry there. Of course, I got in at the end of 2013 and at the peak of the bubble. So at the time, it was $1,000. And then I educated people on cryptocurrency since then. I'm always paying attention still to this day of what's the next big thing on the horizon. Back then it was smart contracts. And it was smart contracts back then looked like colored coins. There was protocols called counterparties, literally one called colored coins, and different things to do what Ethereum ultimately did. Ethereum came out. I was an ICO investor in Ethereum in 2014, 50 cents at the time. Bought a bunch more Ethereum at $1 in 2016. It was $1 then, and then 2016, 2017 obviously were great years. And then it was actually the 4th of July, 2017. And I got this powerful message from the universe that I had to make a blockchain. I was going to build a blockchain like no one else. I didn't really know what that looked like, exactly what the big differentiator was going to be. Why does it matter so much? But now I understand why. So we started building that 6 years ago, just over 6 years ago. And Energy's been alive for about 5 years. Took about a year to build the first version before we released it. But the way Energy differentiates itself in a number of ways, but by hands down, the biggest way is our focus and our innovations in cybersecurity technology. That I'm actually really surprised that we're the only ones, or we have a couple layers of security that go into creating a safe blockchain space for people. And the idea is, you guys, probably most of you have been scammed in some way or another. Many people have been scammed a number of times. There's so many ways to get scammed. There's dozens of ways to get scammed. And I'm just surprised that we're the only ones who solved it. And I solved it not because it was my original intention to solve it, but because I saw our users being scammed in 2018. And by 2019, we built our first decentralized governance apparatus on our first generation blockchain. We're now on, we call it Gen 3. So we rebuilt the security apparatus for our current state of technology, which is EVM compatible, very similar to Ethereum. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long on a tangent, so maybe I'll just like pause there and.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you speculated obviously on Ethereum and you did very well out of it. And I think that's interesting. And that will come back around to a couple of my other questions a bit later. You mentioned you're surprised no one else has gone after this, this security element. Why do you think that is? I mean, a blockchain like the BSC hasn't
I don't know.
attempted to go after security. Why? Why was that such a glaringly large hole that was left?
Honestly, I think it's a spiritual question more than anything. Let me just take a step back. We live in the most abundant day and age of human history. Any of our ancestors would just be like eyes wide at how much we all have and how much we take for granted at large. Humanity takes for granted. And on the same leaf of that, it's how much better we should be treating each other as humanity. It's really kind of sad. I see way too much shady behavior to date where people seem to have forgot there are some cultures have this knowledge ingrained in them for thousands of years, like the laws of karma. The Sanskrit word for character is the same as destiny. Your character will determine your destiny. That's powerful. Think about that. These are like ancient teachings that today you see people like rip people off for the most ridiculous things. I think a big part of it is a failure in culture. We need to improve our cultures as humanity. We need to. I'm in the U.S. I grew up in the U.S. Why the hell do we glorify music that praises stealing, taking advantage of others? All this BS. I think honestly, to answer your question, it's a failure of culture. We need to improve our culture.
So you noticed that these blockchains, especially the major ones, were taking a far less altruistic approach than you wanted to. And obviously you went after security. And I think the language is interesting because I've heard a couple of your AMAs now, and you say you've solved the problem, which is a bold statement. And I appreciate anybody that stands behind bold statements. How have you solved it? Can you talk us through a little bit about what makes you guys so unique and where your defense mechanisms come in to protect the everyday investor?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I will say I couldn't have said that several years ago. Now I can say it because we've had the system live working for years and it works. So at this point, I can confidently say it works. It works. The proof is in the pudding. In cybersecurity, they have a term called defense in depth. I guess you can kind of imagine it like when you log into a website, you use 2FA. These are like you having layers of security. You have a password, someone breaks your password. Well, hopefully they didn't break into your 2FA, that's defense in depth. You apply the same concept toward blockchain security. The first thing any blockchain would need, which we are the only blockchain that I know of that has built decentralized governance in the blockchain. What this basically lets the blockchain do is it lets the network come together and vote. And if there's a bad actor, that bad actor's address can be frozen with a 10% quorum, which is 10% more of the network voting. If there's more yes votes than no votes, an address can be frozen. And then you could do another proposal to drain that address. That's how decentralized governance works. And there's all these hypotheticals. Oh, what if someone takes advantage of this and that? I'll tell you what it actually looks like in reality. What it looks like is you create a safe network where scammers can't get away with it and where users can have a peace of mind that their stuff isn't going to be stolen from them overnight. Or like me, I had $1 million stolen from me on Christmas night in 2017. And I worked with Secret Service. Yeah, I worked with Secret Service. We found out who they were. Took years because it's overseas and all this stuff. Probably about a year. Got them in prison. Never got my money back. I used to be a fan of Monero. I used to be a big proponent of Monero because I'm a big believer in liberty and privacy and all that stuff. But what I found out is actually the Monero network is sadly used by a lot of criminals. So I'm not a fan of Monero anymore. But yeah, that criminal stole my money, turned it into Monero, and he's in prison, hiding behind his attorney. I'm not done with him. Well, we'll get that's something to be solved. But these are the pain points that I've felt, that probably many of you have felt. I'm sure many of you guys know what it feels like to be stolen, and what injustice that feels like. And let me say something. True responsibility is about taking true leadership's about taking responsibility, taking ownership. So when I built a blockchain and I had people being affected by scams, I saw many other projects that said, oh, it's not my responsibility. Oh, it's decentralized. They didn't even know what decentralized means. You know what decentralized means? Decentralized means a network that can't be taken down. That's what decentralized means. Torrents that's how peer-to-peer really kind of took off with torrents. That means there's people all over the world with nodes, so you can't take it down. That's what decentralized means. Same thing with the crypto network. There's nodes all over the world, can't take it down. Energy's the same. We have hundreds of nodes.
Just to interject for a second, I think that's an interesting point, because the decentralization, and we won't get into the weeds of decentralization, because that would be a conversation, an hour-long conversation in of itself. But I think what's interesting here is, certainly the first understanding of what decentralization is, that the network can continue because obviously you've got multiple nodes that are running, and as you say, it can't be taken down. But if the majority of those nodes are owned by one or a few people, the scope of decentralization starts to narrow a little bit. And one of the questions that was raised before you actually came in by one of our members, Alpha Cruz, is who owns the nodes? Are any owned by the team? Do you know everybody that owns them? I suppose that's a really good starting point to really understand how decentralized you wanted to make it. Is how did they get access to them? And these are the people that make these decisions. I think it's important to know, by what basis they're making those decisions.
Energy is a permissionless network. That means anyone in the world can participate, just the same as Ethereum or any other decentralized, permissionless network. Energy is the same. Right. You can participate on Energy with as little as 1 energy, which is currently 4 cents. So you can have a node with that much energy. If you want a master node, we have 2 layers built into Energy. That's because this is to acknowledge the trilemma you guys have heard, the blockchain trilemma. And the solution to that is to have 2 layers built in the network, which we have. We have a layer 1. That's our proof of stake layer. That's where kind of, I guess, similar to a lot of proof of stake networks, you can kind of imagine like the Ethereum base layer, but we're proof of stake. I know they're still working on getting there. The second layer is our masternode layer. This is where the governance happens, and we will also build instant transactions. Ultimately, we want the masternodes to look like a supercomputer sort of network, like very strong servers. And that's how you manage, the whatever million transactions per second, all this marketing stuff that people throw out there. Everyone has cheap transactions. That's not the issue of the day. But that's how. But we have 2 layers built in the blockchain. So these are some other ways we've innovated, but they're not really a core problem because everybody has cheap transactions today. Besides, of course, like the main blockchains like Ethereum and Bitcoin, you can find cheap transactions everywhere. But yeah, the issue is security. Here's a question I gotta throw back at you because I see it. I don't understand why it seems like people are so scared of moving toward governance. Is surprising to me because the whole nature of cryptocurrency is if you don't like how a network operates, you have the freedom to move to another network, right? So that's but that's not really a pain point. We haven't had a single blockchain that's been subjugated by the government, unless they've got unless they're truly not decentralized, which means they have 20 nodes run by Amazon, Google, and Facebook. That network is not decentralized. Because then they can go to Amazon, Google, and Facebook and whoever their other 20 nodes are and tell them all to shut them down. You can't do that on Energy. We have hundreds of nodes run by community members literally all over the world. And that's how you have to build a network. So
to answer the question, why are we so scared of it? I think at the minute, an immediate pushback is that those who are currently making the decisions are so ill-versed in cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. They really don't understand this space at all, nor do they understand why people are in it. I think to hand over any kind of decision making to people that really are not spending any time here is a scary concept for anybody, because then you're going to be getting rules, laws that really fly against what this space is all about and why we are here in the first place. So I think, give it another X amount of years as a new crop of people start to come into government who have a bit more of an understanding. I think we're going to see a bit of a change in the powers that be, the narratives that they use and write when they're talking about this space, and slowly but surely people will start to come around to the idea that governance isn't the devil.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you how I came to it. I came to it because I had users that were being scammed, and again, leadership's about taking responsibility, guys. Whatever you're the leader of in your own life, whether you're leading a family or whether you're leading whatever position you're leading at your job or whatever it is, ultimate leadership's about taking responsibility. The more responsibility you take, the more you are proving that you're capable of being a good leader for that. And that's what I look for in my own team as well too. All the leaders in my organization are people who've proven they can handle responsibility. So it's no different at the blockchain level. When I have users who I see as our citizens, people I care about, and they came to me, oh, $10,000 stolen. Well, how did it happen? Well, they imitated that they were support staff, and I was talking to them for weeks, and then turns out it was fake, and they tricked them. Or there's dozens of variations of this, and they're worse than ever. You guys know. And I was like, okay, and this is how I went into it. I was like, okay, in this abundant day and age of the world and all this technology, there's got to be a solution to this. That's the attitude I took, rather than being like, oh, well, it's blockchain, so sorry guys, you lost your life savings. One of the people came to me, had about it was like $200,000 or so, had his life savings in Energy, and he had probably like 10 ETH or something besides that, and had it stolen from him, and came to us. We were able to get it back from him. We could not get back the 10 ETH. That's gone, was gone forever. So it really just comes from that place of, first of all, you have to want to find the solution. So if you come from that mentality of wanting to find a solution, you'll see it's there. But if you want to come from the position of, oh, it's the wild, wild west and whatever, you have that. You're going to have that on Bitcoin and Ethereum forever. They're not going to change. If you want the wild, wild west, it's there. It's there for you. And I will say, I'm grateful for those foundations. That's the reason why governments can never shut crypto down. Because if they ever do, people will just kind of go back into the cave, per se, of like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Like, you can't stop it. That's what decentralized network means. It means you can't stop it.
Right.
So, but once you have that foundation that, hey, if you want the wild, wild west, that's always there. But now if you want to evolve past that, what that looks like is the stuff we're doing. By the way, let me before I forget, this space is recorded, right? I want to share some of this stuff.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
We started recording at the beginning. I can understand and certainly see how this vision and what you guys are doing is going to stop individual scammers. How does that look at a project level? And what kind of feedback are you getting from projects? And by your own admission, you guys are not being recognized anywhere near as hard as you should be. Why not, I suppose, is the plain question. Is it because you are taking such a hard line with security? Is there something else that's not happening that you guys are working on that's really going to propel you into the forefront of people's minds? Because, for the most part, when I've heard you talk, and certainly when I've looked at the comments, people have nothing but positive feedback in what you're doing. And anybody that's, flying in the face of these scammers and really taking it to them, people are going to stand behind. So how are you going to galvanize people to really get behind this kind of moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been exploring this a lot recently, and I've discovered a few things. The first thing I discovered is that a lot of people don't even know what we build is possible, and that includes developers too. And I've seen that, and I kind of take that as a compliment because I'm like, yeah, it's been built, it's done, it works.
Right.
And I should explain to you guys a little better how it works, but I think I explained to you guys, the decentralized governance component, 10% quorum vote. There's a little more nuance to it, but that's the gist of it. That you can the network can vote to freeze bad actors. The network can vote to drain their wallets and return it to a recovery address, which we then send to victims.
We should also prefix that by saying that there is a delay on withdrawals, right? Which is where people can flag. So people are given a certain amount of time to flag.
Yes.
And one of the basis of what you do is to alert, you advise people to set alerts. So if there is any activity on their wallet, they have 3.5 days to let you guys know, this was not me. I don't know what this is. Can you look into it?
Exactly. And this all ties together to what you just asked of why, like, you know, we kind of created a walled garden around Energi. Yeah. And let me explain that. So the layers of security. So if you guys don't know, on Ethereum, they have walled alerts too. You can do on Etherscan. A lot of people don't even know that exists. It doesn't do a lot of good for you on Ethereum because if someone steals your assets, then there's nothing you do about it. But on Energi, it does. You know, we always encourage our users to sign up for the wallet alert. You get an email anytime your funds move. So the reason why that's good is I'm sure a lot of you guys have got like a text message. You know, did you spend $5,000 on airline flights? I got that message a couple months ago. Of course, the answer was no, I didn't, and contacted them, and the bank returned my money. Right? This is technology we have in the normal world that is lacking from crypto. But we have built a similar sort of system that so you're going to get an email if your funds move. So God forbid, if you are hacked or scammed or whatever it is, you can be like, "Holy shit, that wasn't me. Let me alert. Let me let Energi know. You let us know, and then we do an investigation. The people we have doing investigations for Energi have done them for quite a while. They do cybersecurity for big corporations and governments, you know, including internationally, and they have a whole process that they do when they investigate what happened. And we don't share that because that's the process you have to go through if you go through that. But it's a very thorough investigation to really get a clear idea of what exactly happened and come to a conclusion. We determine that it is an actual crime because some people pretend, they're just probably half reports of people just messing around or pretending they stole money from themselves. Like we have ways of knowing what's legit and what's not. And we determine it's a crime and we return it back to, we can freeze the attacker's address, return it back to the victims. So, right. But the found, okay. And the other thing you mentioned, the delay. Yes. So in the defense in depth I was mentioning, the problem, so let's say a blockchain has decentralized governance. Again, we're the only ones who have that I know of, like to this level. Some blockchains have, you could do code upgrades, but now I'm not talking about the security decentralized governance that we have, like full decentralized governance. But the other problem is scammers and hackers. I saw a good kind of depiction, but usually within 5 minutes, like 30 to 40% of the funds have already moved. Sometimes it takes them hours. It usually doesn't take them more than a day to move those funds. So you need to have a response time. Let's say it's a Friday night or something, right? And something happens and you might not notice till Monday. So that's why we built in that 3-day delay, that if you're sending funds to a bridge or to an exchange, only if you're leaving our blockchain is there a delay. If you're doing anything in our blockchain, it's pretty much just as fast as Ethereum. If you're trading on Energy Swap or sending funds to your friend, or, we're working on NFT Marketplace. If you're buying an NFT, all that's fast. If it's only if you're moving funds out of the reach of the security apparatus that there's that 3-day delay. But we can adjust the time on that too. I've been kind of thinking about potentially adjusting it to 2 days, but I don't know that, you really got to have like pretty much a weekend for people to know that something's happened. At least after that time frame, there's nothing we can really do, if the scammer's got it. But because we have the security though, guess what happens as a result? We have so much less attempted crime on our blockchain. It's like having a security sign in front of your house, like those ADT home security signs, whatever. If you have one of those in front of your house, you're far less likely to get broken into. And it's the same thing with security. Because we have security, a scammer might come try to scam a user on our ecosystem, then they find out they can't get away with it and they leave. They go somewhere else where they can get away with it. So that's kind of the effect we've seen. We've really seen a massive reduction in even attempted crime on our users on our blockchain.
Which is great, and I commend you and applaud you for that, because I think if the only thing that comes of it, and I'm not saying it is the only thing that will come of it, but if the only thing that comes of it is a reduction in crime because people don't want to take the risk, I think that's a massive step forward. Do you alert your community? Is there anywhere people can see how many of these you have stopped? How many potential crimes you've stopped just by a scammer asking a couple of questions, realizing they're not going to like the answers and leaving? Because I couldn't anywhere on your website nor within the Discord could I find that kind of information. And I wonder if that's a really useful, helpful visual tool for your investors and for anybody that wants to use the blockchain to see, right, yet again, someone was stopped. So, to really allow them to understand that what you're saying it's not just words, but actually this practice is being worked on day in, day out, and you're catching however many hundreds you might be catching a month.
Yeah, I mean, we've had hundreds of cases, and a couple dozen recoveries we had to do. But again, I'm telling you, it's gone. The amount of attempted crime even has gone close to zero. So
Right.
this point, it's even hard to pull. It's like we had someone try something a few months ago. I mean, and that's it. They find out they can't get away with it and they're gone. So, and it shouldn't be that foreign of an idea either. You have countries that have very low crime rates because they've taken a good stance against crime and they become very safe places.
Mm-hmm.
And I think cryptocurrency should be the same. And yeah, everywhere else, we're seeing crimes just going ballistic. It's going out of control, And here,
Right.
yeah. To your point, by the way, go ahead.
Sure. No, go on. After you. It's your floor.
You were saying why hasn't more developers and stuff caught on? I will say, initially I was actually kind of hesitant on. I was more hesitant on having projects built on Energy for the reason because of how many of those projects are scams or fail or whatever, So I was pretty leery of it. But
Right.
At this point, I understand that it's necessary to build a big, healthy developer community. It's what the space needs. So I think that's part of it, is that I was initially a bit hesitant. And also I wanted to make sure that, our security works. It's so funny. Like in this conversation, even the stuff we're talking about is so kind of out of left field for people. They may not have thought of it. They're trying to poke all these holes in it and stuff. I'm kind of like, but I just look at the results. I'm like, hey, you know what? Whatever it is, it's working. It's working, and that's I think the ultimate kind of litmus test is, does it work? It works. It works great.
Yeah, I agree with you, and certainly, I mean, for this conversation, I'm not trying to find any holes. I think if it's working, my next question then is, what is your next step? As I said, to circle back to that question of how do you galvanize people to really get behind you? What's the next step? Because now you've got behind you a massive reduction, as you say, in people even trying to attempt scams because you've got these security measures in place, which kind of now makes the security measures far less of a selling point, right? And in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, if you have that as not even a point anymore because it's doing its job, what's your next step to really push Energi in people's faces and say, this is where you should be because we're so safe?
For sure. Good question. I think, as we all know, there's so much, I myself invested in 50 ICOs in 2017, and it was a big learning lesson for me. And part of that learning lesson is that there's a lot of talkers out there. There's a lot fewer doers. There's a lot fewer people who actually do what they say they're going to do. And I'm more the type of person that I want to do it and then tell people about it. And so that's the route we've taken. I didn't do an ICO for Energi, by the way. I bootstrapped it. I spent millions of dollars of my own money building it. And and I wanted Energi also to be born with pure like foundations or whatnot. I didn't want Energi to be seen as a security. That's part of why I didn't do an ICO. We just started emitting coins, like Bitcoin, and we did an airdrop too. So, but we gave away millions of dollars of Energi. I've done a lot of things really purely with Energi. I kept it as kind of a pure spirit, which it's funny. Again, to kind of circle this conversation fully, we need to really raise our level of consciousness as humanity. Man, if you asked me years ago, to be honest with you, I think Energi should be at billions of market cap, for what we've accomplished. But what I've learned through my experience is that everything in this world is it's just marketing. It's you could have the best product in the world, but it's just a marketing game. But we're in a good position because we have a great product, and there
Right.
are a lot of that's a good problem to have. There's a lot of products out there, a lot of crypto products that are nothing sometimes. They have like no substance. Like you see meme coins today, right? There's like no
Right.
substance, but they got maybe they're good at marketing. But I'm really proud that we have an exceptional product, and now we're going to really tune into that marketing game. And the purpose of that marketing game is to attract developers, to attract investors, everyone. This is the technology that the crypto space needs to evolve. I don't know how many years it will take for it to click in for people. There could be some big catastrophic event. Let me like, if you guys were around in 2016, there was something called the DAO in Ethereum. I'd actually put like 20,000 ether into that DAO. That DAO, the way that DAO, and 14% of all ether in existence went into that DAO. 14% of all ether. And the reason why so much ether went into that DAO was because the way they designed it was there was a floor. As in, if you wanted to cash out, it will, like, on the smart contract, withdraw it from the floor. So you can see how much ETH there is left there. And if it was getting close to running out, you can like kind of withdraw. So there's kind of like a floor, and then it just left upside. And the purpose of the DAO was to be like this big investment vehicle or whatever. There was only one risk. The only risk was if there was a bug in the smart contract. And the developers of the DAO at the time were talking about how, they checked all the security. They had like one GIF of like a guy, going on his computer and working all day and then going to bed and then getting back up and working his computer. And they're like saying, oh, we've tested and checked everything, painting this picture that they've really done their job there. Guess what happened? There was one little bug in the code, just one little thing. And that was probably, I would say, the most catastrophic event for Ethereum. It caused a huge chasm in the community. Back then, all the action really happened on Reddit. These days, it's more on like Twitter and people are using Telegram and Discord. But back then, everything was like really large on Reddit. And the Ethereum Reddit was like nothing I've ever seen before then or after that. It was just all these kind of remind me of the ghetto. All these shady people coming in, like being like, "Oh, Ethereum is dead," and that's where Ethereum Classic came. By the way, if you guys don't know, that's where Ethereum Classic was born. Ethereum Classic was the chain that didn't do what Ethereum did. What Ethereum did, because they didn't have governance, they kind of jimmy rigged a governance process, which was essentially very similar to what we have. It was a carbon vote where the holders voted, and the holders voted. It was like a very high, like over 90% voted that they weren't rolling back the blockchain. They were similar to what we do. They basically were taking the funds out of that hacker's address and returning them to victims. That's what happened with Ethereum, you guys, in 2016. But it was the most cataclysmic event for Ethereum. There were some big people, some big influencers at the time who were calling for the end of Ethereum, and that Ethereum Classic could be the new chain. It was pretty ugly, Of course, we see that didn't really come to pass. We see that today. I was out there fighting for Ethereum.
You guys are wanting to, sorry to interject, but you guys are wanting to obviously back that trend. And we're going to talk about GonnaMakeIt, your NFT marketplace, in a second. In terms of your marketing, that's now your next problem. You mentioned it yourself that this space is all about marketing. For those that are currently heavily invested in Energi, both with their time and or money, do you have any kind of little tidbits of alpha of a kind of an angle that you plan to take with your marketing at some stage? Is there something that you've got on the horizon that you're working on now that you've solved one problem and now need to move on to the next problem? Is there something that you're working on that people are going to get excited about?
Yeah, one thing comes to mind. I can't tell you guys what it is, but we have a big marketing event on the horizon. So you're just gonna have to stay tuned.
No one's listening. It's just you and I. Any hints? You got to give them something juicy.
Let me just tell you guys this. I'm actually quite good at sales and marketing. That's actually my forte. I'm not a developer. I know a lot. I know a ton about cryptocurrency because I studied it every day for the past 10 years. But my like skill set is actually sales and marketing. So to be honest with you, that there's a fallacy in this world that now I know, and I will warn you guys all to be conscious of this, that it's, you build it and they'll come. That is a dangerous fallacy. So that is not necessarily true. So be very careful of that. So I just kind of thought, oh, well, we build this environment that everybody needs and they'll just come. It didn't happen. But I understand now that it's because like everyone's kind of looking for horses and we built a car. So they don't know what to make of it.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm realizing. Again, people often worried about, oh, but is it decentralized? It's like, well, what does decentralized even mean? And then what is, we've never had an issue of, subjugation of the network, but we see issues of crime, evidence of that every day. Like, why don't we solve the problem that's staring us in the face? And then in a case where a blockchain gets subjugated, great. Then build another decentralized governance blockchain that is more secure against that. Like, that's the direction we need to go in. But people have kind of created this like block for themselves that they can't see the solution to the problem of crime because they're too worried about, boogeymen that don't even exist, basically. The end game of crypto that I see is competition for governance. Like, we're the ones leading the way in that. I don't think we're going to be the only ones doing this forever. I certainly hope not. I think sooner or later, other blockchains are going to figure it out, and then it's going to be competition. And really, what it comes down to is which blockchain is governing better. Just like you have different countries that govern in different ways. What's illegal in one country might not be illegal in another. You go to Bali, and I spent a year in Bali. I love Bali, by the way. Indonesia is an awesome place. Highly recommend it. But they have a very firm stance there against Santa Maria or Mary Jane or whatever you want to call it. I have a lot of love for that medicine. That medicine has helped me heal a lot. But there, it's like extremely illegal. It's like prison or killed, like that. Crazy. But different countries have different laws, whereas in other countries it's like fully legalized. So that's what I see with blockchain. You're gonna have different blockchains with different laws, different kind of moral compasses per se, and ultimately they'll even have court systems, built in that too, which is what I foresee for energy. We're kind of handling the governance right now, but eventually it will have court systems that kind of resemble our justice system today. And that actually reminds me, energy being conceived on the 4th of July, the US was built on a foundation of liberty and justice for all. And a lot of us are on blockchain for that purpose of liberty, right? For the essence of liberty, that we have that freedom, that no one can tell us, oh, why are you sending $5,000 from your bank account? No one can tell you that in crypto. We love that liberty. Everybody loves that liberty. But what's been sorely lacking from blockchain is the justice part. And that's what we've brought. We brought justice. So you don't have to worry about being stolen from a stupid phishing scam from someone that you don't even know what country they're in. They're from countries, scammers are from all over the world, every country in the world, probably. You don't even know where they're from, and you have no recourse. You guys know how that feels. You know how that feels. It's like the worst feeling because you want to do something about it. And if you ever go down that path, you'll know how essentially powerless you are.
I think getting after it, and certainly you mentioned competitors. You need competitors in order to make this a mainstay. People need to see that others are adopting it in order to really look at what you're doing and say, well, these guys did it first and they're the best at it. Is there anything on the horizon that perhaps, before we move on to GonnaMakeIt, is there anything on the horizon that has you speaking to other people, other blockchains, to say, look, this is what we've done. This is how we did it. Would you like to take a look at some of the stuff that we implemented? Not all of it. You're going to have to figure a lot of this stuff out for yourself. But I want to educate you on how we did this so that you can up your game. Because by elevating somebody else, I think you guys are only going to be stronger.
For sure. It's a tall order for other blockchains to do what we have. For some of the same reasons that were mentioned, it takes a lot of social capital to, things kind of ossify over time. They solidify, and they're hard for people to change. So to go to a blockchain that's already established and be like, hey guys, we're going to implement this decentralized governance, it would probably be a big it would probably create a lot of upset people, because they don't understand it. That's just how things are. So it's hard to
break a few eggs though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would like blockchains to move in this direction. I'm trying to lead by example, but I'm not really going to wait for other people to figure out. I want to just lead by example. So hopefully they start noticing. And I know other blockchains have moved in that direction. Some of them have same sort of thinking on their mind, like realizing this is a problem and starting to move down the path of the solutions. But again, even if they build the decentralized governance like we have, there's still the other issue of the fact that scammers and hackers move funds sometimes within minutes. Again, the defense in depth, the layers of security, and having that the time delay to move off our blockchain is something that I think, again, would be another thing that'd be really hard for other blockchains to understand or accept. So it's really hard for them to do that. Nick from DataDash, he's one of my good friends, and had this awesome idea, which is kind of an angle I'm going to be pushing, which is people should look at Energi as like the Kusama of Polkadot. Kusama is like the testnet of Polkadot per se. Look at Energi like a live testnet for Ethereum. You're using real money. It's not just a testnet with play money. You're using real money, but you can test and build. As Andre Konya said, building in production, you can do that without having to worry about that one little bug. Really, it just takes one little bug in your code to suffer, a major loss that, basically destroys the reputation of the project and makes it very hard to recover from. Right. So I see it as like a safe bed for a safe ground for new technology to rise. So the avenues we're taking going forward are marketing, and within marketing is encouraging developers. If you guys are developers out there, we welcome you to come build on Energi. It's very similar to Ethereum. It's like 99% the same as Ethereum DNA. So very, very similar. And you can deploy your applications in a safe place with a peace of mind that you don't have to worry about one little thing like just ruining everything overnight. So that's kind of the avenue we're taking, So I see that as like symbiotic with what's out there. Again, if you want the wild, wild west, no recourse, it's there. It's already there for you. But if you want an alternative where you have a safe place, come to us. So
yeah, and you guys are also great on and hot on education. I look forward to perhaps seeing an influx of educational videos that really explains what you guys have done, because I think maybe one of the obstacles or hurdles that you need to get over, one of your major obstacles, is that you're going to have to spend a lot of time, like we've now been doing for half an hour, 40 minutes or so, talking through what you've already done and what's already in place, when in reality you've got things that you're creating like GonnaMakeIt that you're wanting to talk about, and anything that really reduces that talking time from this point onwards by way of educational videos, sending them to YouTube or an embedded Twitter video, for example, I think is going to be really good for you guys to kind of get rid of a lot of the fat that you have to talk through first, and then get into what makes things really exciting for those that want to put money into what you're doing. So on that note, talk to me about GonnaMakeIt.
For sure. Good idea, by the way. Thanks. I'll take that to heart, and we'll keep building those materials out.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. We built the DEX, Energy Swap, we built a bridge, and now we're building an NFT marketplace. And the idea is similar thing, a DEX is basically an exchange for ERC20 tokens. And, you need an exchange for ERC 721, 1155, etc. tokens, NFTs. You need an exchange for that. So that's the kind of spirit behind GonnaMakeIt. I see that there's a lot of, demand for NFTs, not just for JPEGs, but for so many different use cases. And, we want to make sure there was an exchange for that on Energi as well. So we've been building that for about 2 years. It's actually been our biggest development project that we've done. It's nearing completion. You can go to GonnaMakeIt.com. You can even see our testnet there. There's not a lot of things on it because it's being built, but it's most of the core stuff is done and it's just coming together. So yeah, that'll be out this year. And
what are you most excited about it with it? What part of this kind of really pulls at your heartstrings and you're most excited about?
Well, I see one of the major innovations of NFTs as that royalty component of it. Just to, Bored Apes, for instance, the reason they had a 4 billion valuation. That 4 billion valuation came from the fact that they generated 100 million in royalties, and they put a 40x multiplier and $4 billion valuation. So I think the royalties cannot be. I think some people don't see NFTs yet. When I first heard of NFTs, I was resistant to them too. And then when I really understood the innovation behind it, I got it. Those royalties are really powerful. So really opening the door for things like membership cards. I'm a content creator too. I'm a YouTuber. That was, again, a lot more active earlier in my crypto career, and now I'm like going back into it because I like to share the knowledge and stuff. But one of the most powerful ways to monetize as a creator is have like a membership card. Have a membership card to your community. Royalties can be used to generate revenue from that. It's a really powerful, very powerful thing. All sorts of brands can do that in their own way too. So I see that, again, that's just kind of one avenue of NFTs, but that's proven to have a lot of power behind it. But yeah,
royalties is an interesting way to go. I think paying people for their content and making sure that they get the royalties. I see a couple of YouTubers in the crowd, Serenity being one of them, for example, who's a great friend of our space. And I'm sure his ears pricked up when he heard that, just having entry tickets, maybe to a space, to a channel, whatever it might be, via an NFT, and being able to earn off that, I think is huge for people. I think that's it's an undervalued aspect of NFTs, and if it's executed well and people can really earn, I think that's a very powerful thing to give back to people. If I had any criticism of that at all, it would be if it, the tiered structure for me screams that it will, and I know you've spoken that actually that's the target audience that you want to go for, and I can understand why, but it screams to me that it would very much empower those that already have a massive following. Especially those that can begin to give people that sign up underneath them with the referral program a bit of a kickback just for signing up. So do you have anything that you're thinking of or wanting to build out that will give not an even playing field, but will bring people who sit at the very bottom that don't have mass audiences, give them an opportunity to kind of reach that big level? Because I think if you ever put yourself in a place where you're the platform people use to really launch how many eyeballs they can get and how much they can earn, you'll be an immediate go-to for anybody wanting to create a brand. And as they grow, they're just going to be talking about you on the way up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the person who pops into mind as you're saying that is Alex Hormozi, and I highly recommend everyone who's interested in this sort of stuff to check him out on Twitter and YouTube. He shares a lot of great content and value on this. But I mean, ultimately that comes around, sharpening your blade at content creation and marketing. And, you see it on Twitter too, how to build an audience. That you see a lot these days. People have really talked about the power of being a reply guy or replying to comments and getting a lot of visibility that way. Twitter Spaces are great, to get on Twitter Spaces. I've done that a number of times. You can get a lot of followers that way. But building an audience, I think, is a game of, it's a game of time. Even myself, my own YouTube channel, when I started, back in 2013, I gained I think less than 100 subscribers my first year, and that's just how it is. But it's just a game of marketing, putting yourself out there, sharing good value. And these days, it's about creating really engaging content and having a good hook. And watch time is a big one on YouTube and stuff, and all the platforms really these days. So for those people, I would say, it's for the time being, we're not trying to create like a academy for how to do good marketing and content creation stuff. There's so many great resources out there for that. We have to just focus on our specialization, which our specialization is blockchain security, just to give people a safe place to take those things they want to monetize and be able to do it and not have to worry about, you see it all the time. Oh, community members being stolen, and it hurts, as again, the leader of a project, it hurts every time you see someone who's been scammed, Every time you have to hear about it. Well, do you reimburse the guy? What do you do? You know, these are the pain points that we're after solving, is giving people kind of the safe place to do whatever they want to do. But again, we live in the day and age of, I mean, it's incredible how much knowledge is out there. And even just the past 10 years is crazy how much the content's better than ever, you guys. You want to learn something, it's out there, it's free on YouTube,
Right.
on Google, you know, you just have to put the time in. And yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Scalability for what you guys are creating with GonnaMakeIt, with your blockchain, how does that look for you guys? How are you approaching scalability to really bring it up?
That's a great question. So I guess to explain it as simply as I can, again, 2-layer system. This is I will say, first of all, again, this is not the problem of today. We're not facing this, but it eventually will be a problem. But the problem of the day is security. But we have a pretty cool design for this as well. So if our layer 1 again is our proof of stake layer, it's kind of our slower layer per se. Our masternode layers are layer 2. So imagine thousands of supercomputers that are quite expensive to run. They might cost $5,000 per server to run, very expensive servers, but they can handle a tremendous amount of capacity. The masternode layer can thereby facilitate instant transactions or near instant transactions, and then essentially dump them into the layer 1. And then the issue is, what do you do with all that data? And I don't really see anyone in the space really solving that well. Some people kind of like push it off to other services and stuff. But really, the way I see sharding, right? That's very popular, sharding. I've seen sharding from the beginning. Actually, NXT, which became Ardor, were kind of the early pioneers to sharding, and then everyone kind of bandwagoned onto sharding. But I don't like sharding because the same reason that if there's one little miscommunication, one little bug in the code, and you have billions of dollars being transitioned from shard to shard, it could be catastrophic. So I don't like shards for that reason. So the way I see scalability is just one blockchain. But if you want a cool visualization, imagine a blockchain of blockchains. So just take a second and imagine that. So when a blockchain gets big enough, you stamp it off, it becomes its own block per se, and you go on to a new blockchain like that. So when the blockchain gets, say, 10 terabytes, the blockchain stamp, you take a snapshot. So you have all the current balances. The old data goes into say about 50 archive nodes. We'll keep that alive. They'll be incentivized through part of the proof of stake rewards. And then you move on to a new blockchain. We're talking at a point where this is where like AI really comes in blockchain, and blockchains are just buzzing with an insane amount of activity that maybe you're getting like 10 terabytes of data a day on a blockchain, and you can stamp off a blockchain every day. That's what I see scalability as. I don't like the shards trying to communicate with each other. In some ways they're kind of similar, but I really don't like the idea of, again, one little bug in those shards communicating, and there's your $50 billion bridge hack, and they have no governance. So maybe it's an event like that people are like, holy shit, where's the decentralized governance? And then, then the meta moves to decentralized governance. Maybe it takes an event like that for people to realize it. I don't know. But I think something like that will happen sooner or later. Some big there's crimes that happen all the time, but some really big crime that forces people to engineer some sort of decentralized governance, and then people will really question why it doesn't exist on blockchains every day, or on every blockchain.
I think what's fascinating about conversations like this is that you can have them at a particularly high technical level. And maybe one of the biggest problems in this space is that there are more people that don't understand what's being said than do. And one of the biggest issues is the ability to be able to reduce the information that's coming out to a bite-sized, manageable piece of information that everybody can understand. And I think when anybody comes out with something that does that, including yourselves, they're going to be a real front runner. Because once everybody can understand in layman's terms what's happening and what the plans are moving forward, and your explanation on scalability, for example, once everybody can understand it just by listening to the first explanation, I think that's when people really start to jump on board. And I think that is a problem for most L1s in this space, L2s, and certainly one of your biggest issues is just making sure that people understand what you're trying to explain to them, rather than trying to convince them that what you're trying to explain to them is the right way to do it, if that makes sense.
For sure. Great feedback. On that note, I'm curious, like how am I doing on understandability on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, I understand you. I don't know if there's certainly plenty of people sitting in the chat right now that understand it. I can't speak for all 138 people that are listening at the minute. I'm sure they'll give feedback in the community questions. So yeah, I think that's a thing to ask the community members, right? Ask the people that are listening. Always gathering that feedback on how was it digestible? But then that just rotates us back to the educational portion of what it is that you guys are hot on doing. And I think really dialing into that and ramping up that section, I've only ever seen good things come from any project that has ever tried to educate people first in the simplest form. It really boosts engagement, and the second people understand it, they really start to jump in. What are you moving forward most worried about? So one of the questions I like to ask is where are your biggest holes? But I'm going to eliminate that question for now. Is there anything that moving forward you're most concerned about? You're looking at in as a pretty big mountain that you want to tackle, and that kind of gives you some of those good nerves that people can get?
Well, I guess I'll just say again, out of experience, it's been a big learning year for me. Again, I kind of just assumed that building this technology on its own, people would just appreciate it and stuff. I guess I hoped that. I kind of expected that. I don't know, something like that. And
Right.
again, just really learning that. No, that's not how the world works. It's all marketing. So, I mean, I guess I'll say again, it's been a big shift for me this year, kind of shifting my gears into. I did a lot of product dev, wanted to make sure that the product was good, but at this point, it is. There's still things we can do to improve energy. There's still certainly improvements that I have in mind that I want to do, but just kind of really realize that to flourish in the space, it's a momentum game. And you just have to be full speed ahead in marketing, again, assuming you have a good product. So I think that's kind of the first is you have to have a good product, and then you have to push the marketing. But I mean, to be honest, again, I feel like energy should be far higher than where we are, in terms of valuation for our technological achievements and everything. So that's been probably that's been a pain point for me. But again, sometimes you have to kind of. It's like going down a hallway with the lights off. You got to like bump into the wall to be like, oh, okay, we're good this way, And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, okay, so just focus on marketing, So it's
But I like your candid response. I like the response that you don't understand why it isn't recognized more than it should be, and that's a pain point for you. I think it's not only candid, but it should tell anybody that has invested or is going to or thinking about investing that that's what you are now dialed into, and that's only going to be a strength moving forward. Because certainly, if you work anywhere near like I do, those pain points I want to challenge myself to not only overcome but beat, and not only beat but make it a strength. And if I can make it a strength, I've won. I've beaten that particular pain point. So, if you're working in that direction, I think that's great for people to hear that honesty. Here's a question that's come in from one of the audience members: is do you think there's space for zero knowledge proof in energy?
Yeah, sure. Again, that's anything that's being built on Ethereum, we welcome to be built on Energy. So, and I'm a big believer in network effects. I have a lot of love for Ethereum, so you can totally build that on Energy. But what I'd really like to see more of is apps that are driving users. Like we built a DEX, we're building an NFT Marketplace, but any apps that people want to build to drive users is definitely what I'm most interested in. I think technologically we're strong enough, and that's another avenue you could take technologically. But I really just want to create a safe place for people to use the blockchain, like daily users. That's my objective. But I will say, all in all, if you're building that or you're a developer, I welcome you coming on Energy. We'll help guide you whatever you need to get plugged in and do that in a safe environment. We won't be building it, but we would be happy to support you in doing that.
Great. Let me digress for a second to just say that some of your community members have obviously jumped in to listen, and I'm looking at them in the community question section, and these guys are so quick at answering every single question that's raised. They're beating me to the punch in asking it, and I'm very impressed with it. I think that is something that is very applaudable. Those are some great community members that you have that have jumped in and are really rallying behind the message, and that is obviously a testament to what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it.
Thank you.
So if people want to get into energy, yeah, I will do. Absolutely. I mean, I'll be thanking them after this for sure. Virtual Roughneck is certainly one, and Blackstone is another that I'm looking just off the top of my head. I can see a swath of conversation that's been happening, and I mean so much that I'm not going to read through all of it now, but it's very impressive that they're jumping in and answering these questions. And that's exactly what's needed. Certainly, even during a conversation like this, that it. But if people are in the background also able to answer those questions, that's a massive step forward to getting your name out there. So for anybody that's listening and they want to get involved with Energi, they want to get involved with GonnaMakeIt, how do they do so?
Well, definitely follow us on Twitter first of all. That's obviously our main social media account. Energi, just at Energi, ENERGI with an I. By the way, I called it Energi because money is just a form of energy. It's that understanding that money is not good or bad. It's just energy. It's how you channel it. So anyway, that's how name came. So Energi, follow me on Twitter. I'm at TommyWorldPower. Go to our website, www.energi.world. We have the design on that is pretty easy to navigate. I saw some comments about where to get Energi. The best place to get Energi is Uniswap. You can get, if you go to our website and go to get Energi, there's just go to the Get Energi page. It'll link you to the Uniswap link. You can buy it there. We're a low cap coin, so it's not like on the Uniswap default list yet, but with our marketing efforts, hopefully we get there within the next year or so. Let me think what else. If you're a developer, come on our Discord channel. We have a dev channel. You can come in there, ask any questions you have. Our tech team will plug in and help answer any questions, help guide you. You can build on Energi much the same way. Again, you build on Ethereum, same sort of tools, all that stuff. If you want to collaborate in any way, reach out to me directly. My DMs are open, TommyWorldPower. I'm open and love to collaborate with you guys, help get the word out. And ultimately, we have to remember we're all in the same team. We're in the same corner. We want cryptocurrency to prosper. We want blockchain technology to prosper. And to do that, we have to have a safe environment for people. And think of it this way again, like, do you feel comfortable bringing your mom into blockchain as it is, or any family member? That's the ultimate test. That's the ultimate question. And if the answer
I don't feel comfortable driving my mum or having my mum drive me around the corner, let alone get her into crypto.
Well, it sounds like your mom's
go on. The answer to the question. Sorry, I interjected.
No, it's okay. I'm just making a point that, if you don't feel comfortable about it because, you're worried about them getting bamboozled by someone, especially being newbies and stuff, then that's where we need to bring about this technology, the technology like Energi's built, so that they can have a safe time using crypto without worrying about it. And there's other forms of scams too, you guys. You guys know there's so many projects that raise money and do scammy stuff. And I see other cool projects out there, like Angel Block is one that I know of, that when people are fundraising, that they only give out the money in tranches. So you don't have like a project raise like $3 million and then take the money and run. We've all seen that too. So there's other enhancement on security, but anyone who cares and is focused on security, let's connect and let's help get this space be more mature. I think in 10 or 20 years, the cryptocurrency space will be at that level of maturity that this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, like basic level petty crime isn't an issue anymore. I think we'll have solved that problem in 10 or 20 years. I sure hope so. And we're going to do our best to help bring that forth.
Great. And I think that's a great vision. And certainly, perhaps we can stay in contact with you in the DMs, and if there's any way that we can work with one another as a space, because I think what you guys are doing is interesting, then let's have that discussion. Oh, and if my mum is listening, and she does sometimes, I was only joking. You're a great driver. Is there anything I haven't gone?
I gotta take back my old comment. Then we're all very young. We're all young at heart.
Yeah, she's not that old, so she would have been mortified. I'm going to be in for a bit of an ass whooping when I see her next. Is there anything I haven't covered you wish I had? Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wish I had?
Nothing really comes to mind. I kind of just go with the flow. I want to thank you guys all for joining and listening. Thanks for being open-minded. I know it's kind of a little bit different than maybe we've been exposed to. And I would just tell everyone, I know when things are different, our initial response is, sometimes I've seen from people sometimes defensive. And if you find that, I would just say, just open your heart and just really, if you come from the right place, if you come from the right place at things, that's sometimes where incredible things are done. And that's, I think, what really set us apart is we came from the right place, came from a place of having a pure heart and just looking at how do we solve this problem. And again, if I had just built this and it just came out, I probably would be more apprehensive. But I think that's part of the reason that I wanted to give this a couple years to prove itself and see that it works. And so know that as well. Again, the proof's in the pudding. It works. Decentralized governance works. And I think it's what the crypto space really needs to evolve. So.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And like you said, you've been building this out for some time. It's been around for a while. People should definitely jump into the Discord and take a look around. We're going to be starting our giveaway now, which means I only have one more question for you. I'm just going to link your Discord in the community questions section so people can all jump in, ask any questions you want to ask in there. You've obviously got a ton of people that are willing to answer. So my last question for you is, what on a personal level are you most excited about in the future? Do you have any particular single milestone that you're looking at? And when you get to that point, you're going to take a moment for yourself. You're going to sit back and say, you know what? I got to this point. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to take a beat. I'm going to celebrate this. And then I'm going to continue building.
That is a great question. A number of things come to mind, like a series of milestones. I don't know which one exactly. I would like to, I'm looking forward to the day where I see we have to find, we're experimenting with marketing right now, and marketing is just the magic behind words. So I'm looking for that kind of perfect, we have the product, the thing is there. I'm just looking for the best way to explain it, to have it kind of click for people. And maybe that was what Nick from Data Dash said, like explaining it to like people seeing it like the Kusama of Ethereum, like the testnet for Ethereum. I don't know what the angle is, but I'm looking for that where then the developers just start rolling in and building on Energy, and it's taken off. And then I know that it's rolling, and then we can worry about bigger problems, But just to see that the momentum really kind of moving on its own, that will be a big milestone for me. In my mind, which, it's starting, but it takes, you got to push the boulder, it takes time to get rolling. So that's one. I will say, of course, we have a lot of friends and family, community members who've invested in Energy, and I want to see them do well. And I've poured my heart and soul in Energy too, and I'm really proud of that. Again, I've seen so many projects that, there's actually a great video by Sam Altman, and he did a great video that I saw recently, and it's like the biggest differentiating quality about a founder is people don't talk about is how much how much bad shit and unexpected shit that happens, and you have to just be resilient. Mm-hmm. And I saw that video, I'm like, that's awesome, because that's true, you guys. Like, sometimes things aren't easy, and you have to be just resilient and keep working your ass off. I mean, I put in like crazy work hours this year, working 7 days a week, morning till night. And it's too much. There's definitely a part, you got to have like the work-life balance and all that stuff too. But sometimes you do what you got to do. And, yeah, just know that. Oh, good.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's great. One of the things that we like to do here, I know this conversation perhaps hasn't gone in the directions that you might have thought it would, because we, like you said, we like to also go with the flow. I think one of the most important things that we like to do, especially with hardworking people, and it doesn't matter what they're working on, but people that are working on anything from the lowest to the top there's an awful lot that happens in the background that people aren't aware of. So I think sometimes it's good to hear the human that sits behind all of that hard work. And so, by all means, preach in terms of how much hard work has gone on in the background and what you've sacrificed, because I think sometimes people don't realize how much is sacrificed. And, the fact that you're willing to sacrifice all these things that you have by the amount that you've worked shows how dedicated you are to building out what you want to build out. And of course, that doesn't mean that it's going to be absolutely perfect or there aren't hard questions to answer, but it does show that you are dedicated to doing what you're doing. And as you said, you bootstrapped it yourself. You didn't go out there and try and raise the money. You put the money up, which means you're very serious about what you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah. What you say is absolutely correct, and I'll just add to that. I've noticed for some people, building something is like kind of like a hobby, or we'll try it. Like this is in alignment with my life purpose. If I hadn't built Energi, it's funny. Like if I hadn't built Energi, then I would know that I need to build Energi now. With how bad crime is, I was like, man, I have to do it because no one else is going to do it if I don't do it. And then I look back and then I did it. I'm like, well, thank God I did it. So it's like, yeah, we haven't seen sometimes you don't see the results right away, but you just got to keep working and the results will come. And that's where I feel it's at. I see, again, validation every day. When you build a product, you got to have product market fit. And I'd certainly see a lot of market fit when the crime is just continuing to get worse. And again, I didn't solve this problem to make a bunch of money. I solved this problem because it's what the world needs. So what the crypto space needs, and by extension, what the world needs. So that's why I built it.
Great. Well, I think that's a perfect place to leave it on. I hope we can have you in at some point again, Tommy, to have another conversation about everything that's going on, a couple of months down the line, especially when GonnaMakeIt launches fully. I'm excited to have an extra conversation and we can get to some of the extra weeds. Our platform is always open to you. So whenever you want to have a conversation, you just reach out and we'll do this again.
Thanks. Yeah. I'd love to circle back sometime soon. And, crypto space is heating up. So it's good to see that the bear market is ending, seems like, and, crypto, the dawn of the next bull market. So exciting times ahead, you guys. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys all for hanging out and joining us. And we'll catch you guys soon.
Perfect. You take care. Have a good rest of your day and take some time for yourself, of course.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
See you.